I know that later on, when I found out certain people were suspects in the assassination of Tupac and the attempted assassination on me, that was Suge Knight. And he's finally breaking his silence on what really led to Tupac's death. According to the death row boss, it wasn't just gang beef, it was jealousy. Some rap legends couldn't handle Pac's rise, and that envy turned deadly. His revelation is changing everything we thought we knew. I've got the full story. Let's break it down. The jealousy seed. Yo, peep game. October 2025 rolled around, and the whole hip-hop nation was already reeling from Diddy catching that 50-month stretch, while Keef D's murder trial was about to begin. But nobody expected the realest tea to be spilled by the big homie Suge Knight, who's been sitting in Richard J. Donovan Correctional Facility since 2018, running game from behind those prison walls. This OG started blessing the streets with some real talk through collect calls, YouTube drops, and Instagram lives that had the whole culture frozen from August to late September. Suge wasn't just talking. He was breaking down the whole playbook on how jealousy, not just street beef, was what really got Pac laid out on that Vegas strip back in '96. Through a series of prison phone sessions, viral YouTube exclusives, and IG lives that had the homies gathered around their phones like it was Sunday service, Suge was painting a completely different picture of Tupac's last days, one that hit harder than any diss track. His whole angle, envy, wasn't just background noise in Pac's story. It was the gasoline that set off the entire inferno of the 1990s rap wars, the real reason why hip-hop's most revolutionary soldier caught those fatal slugs on September 7th, 1996. The real story kicked off on August 4th, 2025, when Knight got on the phone with SKG, his ride-or-die associate, for a gritty 45-minute interview that racked up over 3 million views in just 24 hours. Calling from his cell, with those automated operator interruptions breaking up the flow, Suge was putting the homies up on game with some wild connections, linking Nipsey Hussle's 2019 Marathon clothing store murder to Tupac's BMW shooting. Both kings, he said, were taken out by the same green-eyed monster. Real recognizes real, and jealous cats stay plotting in the shadows while you shine in the light. Suge noticed how Nip's entrepreneurial come-up mirrored Pac's post-jail glow-up. According to the big homie, the jealousy that eventually got Tupac killed started bubbling almost immediately after his October 1995 signing to death row, when Suge put up that $1.4 million bail to spring Pac from Rikers like family. When All Eyes on Me dropped in February 1996, hitting #1 and going diamond, that album didn't just move the needle at death row, it took over the entire building. The album's massive success flipped the whole script on the label's pecking order, turning former Day Ones into salty spectators watching from the sidelines. Danny Boy, one of death row's R&B artists, kept it a buck about the jealousy that was moving through the label like a virus. Speaking years later, when he could finally be honest without catching heat, the homie admitted what everybody already knew but nobody wanted to say out loud.
I mean, everything became about Tupac. Every promotion, people having albums, their albums have been promised to be released. You Up Next. Like, and you can look in the back of the records, it would say, you know, Danny Boy album coming out, this, da-da-da-da. In the Dog Pound, and da-da-da-da-da. Anybody that had an album that was up to come out, all that shit was scratched into Tupac. He was finished with his records.
The jealousy wasn't just business, it was personal, petty, and spreading through the camp like wildfire. Cats who helped build death row from the ground up suddenly found themselves playing background roles in somebody else's movie. Knight broke it down in a December 2023 episode that went viral again throughout 2025, explaining how Pac's arrival straight up disrupted the family vibe that once existed at the label before he touched down. Even Danny Boy, who stayed cool with Pac, couldn't escape that competitive energy that came with the sudden shift, the divide between who was eating and who was starving.
And at first I was under him alone, so to say, like, you know, it's about what Danny Boy say. Then when Pac came along, it was like, shit, now it's me and Pac arguing about who's gonna get in the front seat, you know, shotgun and things like that. So it definitely became a friendly competition.
SKG, who had a front row seat to death row's entire collapse, was chopping it up during that August conversation, sharing stories about Tupac's late-night studio grinds, clashing with Snoop's more laid-back sessions. It created what she called a camp divide, where loyalty got twisted into resentment faster than you could say. West Side Suga's realist take on jealousy's poison came straight from the streets, delivered with the wisdom of an OG who'd watched it destroy everything he built. He broke down a crucial difference that became the foundation of his entire theory about what really killed Tupac. It wasn't hate, which comes at you loud and direct, but jealousy, which moves in silence, creeping through the crew until it corrupts everything it touches. The emotional weight behind Suge's revelations went far beyond industry politics. By August 5th, the video had already blown past 3 million views, sparking Twitter trends like "You would call Suge jealousy truth," and Reddit threads where fans drew lines from the past to the present, comparing it to Kendrick's "Not Like Us," shots at Drake, and the never-ending cycle of rap beef that blurs the line between healthy competition and straight-up Cancer. Knight's warning wasn't just about the past, it was about right now. He kept stressing that unless this disease of jealousy was addressed, the cycle would keep repeating, with the next Nipsey or Tupac somewhere in the shadows around rising stars like Ice Spice or Glorilla. The comparison hit different. Both Tupac and Nipsey were entrepreneurs trying to change the game, and both paid the ultimate price for shining too bright. But Suge wasn't done dropping jewels. On August 13th, he came through with a bombshell on the Art of Dialogue podcast, revealing how he personally stepped in to prevent what could have been a deadly fashion mistake during Tupac's To Live and Die in LA video shoot. The 12-minute revelation had the kind of vivid detail that makes you wonder if that's really how it went down, or at least how Suge wants us to believe it did. According to the Big Homie's version, he pulled up to the July 1996 set on LA's Crenshaw Boulevard, where Pac rolled through wearing a sky blue Dodgers fitted and a mesh tank top. For anybody who knows LA gang politics, that was basically walking through enemy territory with a target on your back. Would you like me to continue polishing the next paragraph, the part about the wardrobe change and Suge dyeing the hat red? I can make it flow naturally into this section for your video narration. Those were expletive colors, and Death Row was rolling with Mob Piru bloods. That's the kind of slip that could get you touched. Suge described the whole chaotic scene with vivid detail. Cameras rolling, extras everywhere, the LA heat beating down at 95 degrees, and him grabbing a stylist's kit to cut up the tank top and dye the hat red using fabric markers and whatever paint they had lying around from the props. Pac wasn't trying to hear it at first. To him, it was just clothes. But after Suge pulled him to the side and broke down the danger, he fell back, later admitting that the Big Homie was just looking out. Knight connected that wardrobe intervention to his bigger jealousy theory, claiming that rivals like Orlando Anderson were watching for any excuse to make a move. Their hate, amplified by whispers from jealous cats inside Death Row who were leaking information to street enemies. The story blew up online with a Reddit thread, titled "Suge Finally Confirms It," pulling in over 120 upvotes as internet detectives debated whether Suge's account was genuine protection or just storytelling after the fact. But beneath all the wardrobe drama was a darker truth. Jealousy within Death Row's own ranks had created an environment where Pac's every move was being watched, recorded, and potentially used against him. If Snoop represented jealousy on the street level, Dr. Dre was its artistic version, the genius, whose ego couldn't handle sharing the throne with Tupac's unstoppable creative grind. Knight's take on the Dre-Tupac dynamic showed how jealousy operates, where talent meets money, where production credits become weapons, and studio time equals power. The friction between Dre and Tupac came from deeper questions about who was really putting in that work. Knight revealed that Pac had uncovered some uncomfortable truths about Dre's creative process. His revelation that Tupac questioned Dre's authenticity as both a producer and lyricist shook the very foundation of hip-hop. In an era when ghostwriting was still taboo and production credits meant everything, Pac's skepticism wasn't just artistic disagreement. It was a direct challenge to Dre's entire legacy. But in Knight's telling, the ultimate snake move wasn't about music, it was about loyalty. When Snoop was facing a murder case and needed character witnesses, Dre's response showed exactly where his loyalty stood. That moment crystallized the whole jealousy dynamic for Tupac, that sometimes the ones closest to you don't hate you because you did them wrong, they hate you because you did it better. Here, Suge was going to bat for Snoop, his homie and collaborator, while Dre, the so-called architect of West Coast hip-hop, wouldn't even show up to court. The message was crystal clear. Success isolates you, and the people you put on may not return the favor when you need them most. Dre's March 1996 exit, announced through a polished corporate press release about pursuing solo ventures, was when the split became official. With a $20 million Interscope bag for Aftermath Entertainment, Dre claimed irreconcilable visions, but Knight framed it as jealousy-driven abandonment that left Tupac vulnerable in the middle of the East-West War. Knight's son, Taj Knight, amplified these accusations in March 2025, questioning Dre's relevance in viral social media posts that pulled in over 50,000 views, echoing his father's claims that Dre's jealousy showed up through withheld resources and lack of support at crucial moments. But Death Row's jealousy went way beyond just the big names. It infected the entire roster, artists whose dreams got put on pause, while Tupac's star ate up all the attention and resources. Danny Boy's honest admission gave rare insider confirmation of Knight's whole theory. Jealousy wasn't just coming from one or two people. It had spread through the entire organization like a disease. The jealousy wasn't always aggressive, though. Danny Boy called parts of it friendly competition, but Knight insisted it eventually evolved into something far more dangerous. Financial disputes over projects like Gridlocked and growing demands for features piled up. Day ones started turning into bitter rivals. The distribution of money and opportunity became a zero-sum game, where Tupac's win meant everybody else took an L. Warren G. Snoop's blood cousin and G-Funk pioneer got special attention in Knight's story. His 1997 album Take a Look Over Your Shoulder tanked at number 105, partly, Knight claimed, because Death Row's marketing budget got redirected. Suge even admitted that Tupac shut down a proposed joint tour, saying Warren couldn't pull the crowds they needed, a cold business decision that left friendships as collateral damage. Daz Dillinger's strong denials throughout 2024 and 2025. We made Pac, no envy. Suge's confusion tore the family apart. Directly contradicted Knight's version, highlighting how Death Row's history is still being fought over, each participant remembering events through their own lens of pain and blame. Yet beneath all these competing stories lies one undeniable truth. Something had broken. Inside Death Row, what should have been hip-hop's greatest dynasty had turned into a pressure cooker of resentment, one that would eventually explode. In the most tragic way imaginable, jealousy festered within Death Row's ranks. Outside forces were already positioning themselves to exploit those cracks. And according to Knight, those forces included some of hip-hop's biggest names, setting the stage for what he called the fatal convergence. By October 2025, as fall hit both coasts, Knight's jealousy theories collided head-on with major legal bombshells that seemed to validate his darkest predictions, and while raising new questions about his own role in the tragedy he claimed to mourn, the October 3rd sentencing of Sean Diddy Combs, ending a 9-month federal case that exposed allegations of sex trafficking and racketeering, hit like a bomb that echoed through hip-hop's history. When U.S. District Judge Annalisa Torres handed down a 50-month sentence, Knight broke his silence the very next day, dropping a heated video response that framed Diddy's downfall as delayed justice. Knight's October 4th video exploded to 5.2 million views in just 48 hours, positioning Diddy's prison bid as payback for sins stretching back almost 3 decades. But buried in Knight's long, fiery commentary was his most explosive revelation yet, his admission that he'd known about the murder plot for years. The specific details in Knight's account, Keefe D naming names, identifying security who took money, breaking down Bad Boy's alleged involvement, had the weight of someone finally letting go of a secret that's been eating at them for decades. Knight claimed he couldn't retaliate despite his blood boiling, because, as he put it, he was an intelligent, wise man and businessman, choosing instead to gather information that would haunt hip-hop for generations. Keefe. D-Zone court case, the 62-year-old Southside Crip OG charged in July 2023 with Tupac's murder, provided chilling backup. Leaked segments from a 2008 DEA interview resurfaced in a September 2025 All Hip Hop article, painting Diddy as burning with jealousy over Tupac's rise. Keefe D himself confirmed the money motive in interviews, explaining how the promised bread never came through. Even after the deadly mission was carried out, the connection between Diddy's current legal downfall and Tupac's unsolved murder created a feedback loop where 1996's jealousy fueled 2025's consequences as Twitter lit up with Chanu had Diddy Tupac so hashtags, racking up over 2.5 million impressions by October 5th. Knight's narrative positioned these scandals as vindication. To him, jealousy was the original sin, the virus that started in album sales and business betrayals, now finally being exposed through indictments and appeals. Yet even as Knight played the role of truth-teller, his own actions came under serious scrutiny. His admission that he'd known about the murder plot for years, choosing to extract information from Keefe D instead of seeking immediate justice, raised uncomfortable questions about his own involvement. Was it strategic restraint or self-preservation disguised as wisdom? Knight's story of betrayal reached beyond individual jealousies and into institutional failure. His allegations about death row's own security, off-duty cops who couldn't carry their weapons, insiders who ignored clear threats, painted a picture of jealousy operating not just through what people said, but through what they didn't say. That silence created vulnerabilities, cracks in the armor that enemies easily exploited. Perhaps the most damning revelation of all came when Knight pointed the finger at a man few ever suspected, the lawyer who represented both him and Tupac. Knight claimed this attorney, a man he'd helped financially over the years, had secretly participated in coordinating the hit through walkie-talkie communications. According to Knight, the idea that David Kenner, the lawyer who brokered Tupac's death row deal, might have been involved represented jealousy's ultimate betrayal. The trusted advisor turned Judas. His alleged discovery of a walkie-talkie, hidden in his legal files, an item the lawyer swore never existed, added a layer of physical evidence to accusations that might otherwise sound like prison. Paranoia. Throughout October 2025, petitions demanding the unsealing of Tupac's files gathered hundreds of thousands of signatures, while Keefe D's trial date was officially locked for February 2026. By then, Knight's jealousy theory had evolved from street philosophy into a full-blown framework, an explanation for how individual resentment, corporate greed, and systemic corruption came together to destroy hip-hop's most revolutionary voice. But for all of Knight's moral high ground, his own jealousies remained unexamined. His rants about Snoop's death row ownership ignored the fact that he had built a system where artists owned nothing and moguls controlled everything. His hatred of Dre's aftermath success and Snoop's business moves felt like projection, accusing others of the same envy that may have fueled his own downfall. Still, there was one glimmer of redemption. Snoop Dogg's eventual reconciliation with Knight, reportedly worked out in a Vegas hotel room, just the two OGs face-to-face after decades of bad blood, gave Knight's jealousy saga a rare note of closure. Their mutual acknowledgement of past pain and lost brotherhood proved that even hip-hop's deepest wounds can heal when real men choose forgiveness over eternal warfare. But Tupac never got that chance. He never lived to squash the beef with Snoop. He never had the time to understand Dre's perspective. He never got to forgive the jealousies that poisoned his final year. Knight's revelations about Tupac's final days painted a haunting truth that shining too bright attracts the most dangerous kind of hate. It was a lesson learned too late to save him. As October 2025 closed, with Diddy filing appeals, Keefe D awaiting trial, and Knight dropping philosophical bars from his cell about karma and jealousy, hip-hop found itself trapped in the same endless cycle. Still fighting the same battles, still letting envy poison the culture, still refusing to learn the lesson Tupac's death should have taught 3 decades earlier. In hip-hop's Hall of Mirrors, where jealousy reflects endlessly, one truth remains. talent deserving immortality was cut down in its prime. And the jealous ones who tried to dim his light only ensured it would burn forever, in the hearts of real ones worldwide.